All right. Let's get started. Running a little late tonight. We have no shortage of house emergencies around here. I was 100% sure that I was going to get started early tonight, go here and clean out all these old files I've got open. Such is not the case. So we will crack a Pepsi and get started. Tonight what we're going to work on first is starting to integrate some sound. I'm tired of the game being really quiet. And so I've got a bunch of sound stuff I'm going to start on. This is the master spreadsheet. This is the things I'd like wish list for my Halloween release. And there's a bunch of sound related things here. Basic sound settings. We're going to start with the sound settings, which is like the user's ability to configure, effects volume versus music volume and so on, which requires us to implement basic effects and music and so on. And then start integrating maybe some sounds with the menu items first. If that goes really quickly and well, then we'll start building the sound system for the game, which would be interesting because it would encompass some entity component system stuff and useful things. One of the things I like to do when I get started is sort of look at especially if I'm going to be adding something to the user interface, is to kind of, when I first sit down, run the game, take a look at the screen, and start imagining in my head like what the things will look like. I guess we can go back to big screen. I've been working on the environmental stuff, so when we actually run the game later, I'll give you a quick demo of where the day-night settings are and stuff. So what we want is this panel to be filled out. So I'm thinking music volume, effects volume, maybe a separate ambient volume. So ambient sounds and effects sounds be different volumes. So we're getting some sliders similar to what we've got over here and some labels. Although I think I might make these sliders bigger by putting the text above. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll put the text and then the slider so that we get some more space and we don't have to show the exact value. This is a property panel that does this for me. I just add the title and point it to a value and it automatically configures this UI, but we'll do something more custom for the actual sound system, which will allow us to do some other stuff too. So, alright, so that's what we're going to be working on. First we will need to open the game settings stuff. This is where that UI is configured. We can see sound, TBD, rendering tabs separate. Okay, that's what we want. Sorry, just taking a quick drink of my caffeinated beverage. So we need a panel for that. Usually, see, does add tab return its? Yes, it does. So we could say container sound equals tab add sound, and then here, new container. Okay, now we've got a container for that, and what we want to do, add child, new label. Let's see, music. Effects, ambient. We can move these around later. And then we're going to want scroll bars after each of those. I wonder if we want like a master mute, probably. Yeah. So for that, we want to say checkbox. checkbox. Mute. And so already, if we were to run this again, because this is how easy it is to make a UI in Lemur, well, apparently you've got to do more than I did. Ah. Why? Oh. Checkbox. Just like all other UIs. There we go. So if we go here and look at the settings, sound, yep, so we start to see we've got some stuff here. And actually looking at it, if we're going to have sliders, I'm okay with this amount of space. We won't have the value like this one. We'll let the slider do all the talking. But I do think I want to have like a volume centered or something that indicates that this is volume. So let's see what that would look like. Maybe not centered. So then we make container. Oops. Can't type today. That container should have a border already. Add these labels. Oh, wait. Why are we stuck? Whoa. Mr. Ed has never had that happen before. Uh-oh. Okay. Old habit, one of the things that I do when whenever my UI freezes like that when I've just hit Control S, the first thing I do is go to a open window and do a directory to make sure it's not that the hard drive is frozen. If you've ever had a hard drive freeze on you, which is catastrophic, very bad, you want to check that as soon as possible, kind of thing. Okay. So volumes, add child, and then I don't know if we can create a dummy scroll bar. Or let's see. Yeah, we definitely want scroll bar sliders. Yep. So it will let me create a slider with no axis or anything. Cool. So we'll see what it looks like. We want it in the second column. Now we can just see what that looks like. Did anybody join the stream? I know we had 2 people waiting, so we got 2 people watching. At least 2 people. That screen sometimes doesn't update properly. So settings, sound, yeah. Maybe we'll right justify these guys. Leave volume like it is. I kind of wanted the panel around it. The border. Maybe, is there another style we could use? No, I don't want one of these big titles. Just looking around to see if there's something else. That's kind of, I don't know, I'm getting wrapped in the weeds. We got to implement things and not worry so much about, oh, you know what, maybe if I had these properly laid out, I wouldn't care so much that those are not justified. We can push that off to another time. So we want to make sure our spring grid layout has the right settings. Unfortunately, there's not one that lets you do this without the axes. So then we want to change the fill mode. We want fill mode to be the last. Oops. Yeah, last for both. but especially for the for the x-axis. And what that does is when the grid's laying out stuff, whatever, normally if it has extra space to give away, like the container wants to be wider than what is displayed, it will divide the extra space up evenly among all of the children along that, in the case of the x-axis along the row, all of the items in that row, it will get an even amount of the leftover space. Whereas when we use last, none of them get the extra space except for the last one. So this, if we look at it again, this will make it, well, you gotta use the right stuff and use the right number of parentheses and so on. And my editor would have told me that if I had paid attention. Ooh. Oh yeah, axis, let's see. I think something is going to give us an ambiguous thing about axis, so we'll pull it in, because the input stuff has axis for like mouse axis, joystick axis. If I was smart, I would have named it something else. By the way, hopefully my nose isn't breathing into the microphone like it was that one time. If you hear my breath a lot, somebody say something in the chat, please. I hate that. Okay, so yes, we've got volume controls, and I'm going to worry about formatting this UI later. So we want to mute, we want to be able to set music volume, effects volume, and ambient volume. And by default, I think I'll leave them at 75% when we start this. But so now we need to figure out what we want to do with that. And first thing we're going to want is some, I think it's double, or ranged value model. That's what it's called. Ranged value model. Music volume. You know what? We don't have to do this here. We actually, what we want, all we want here is the version reference for double music volume. Effects volume, ambient volume. And down here, we define a slider. We will give it a new slider. New ranged value model. And then what are the parameters for that? I think it's min, max. Oh, no. We have to use a real one. So default one. Yep, default ranged value model. That's the one. Min, max value. Default ranged value model. Minimum is 0, maximum is 1. We'll start the volume at 75%. And yeah, so we ought to be able to just cut and paste this like that. And then for this one's the music volume. Model.create reference. So in Lemur, instead of using an event model where you've got all these events flying around, we use these versioned references, which we can then watch. Since a game engine's already polling every frame anyway, rather than have all these events going around and listeners that we'd add to that we'd have to remember to remove again later, or we pull in all kinds of stuff and cause memory leaks and so on. We just watch the things, these references, as long as they're held onto, the thing won't go away. And so then down in here on our update, JME's typical update, we can say if ambient music volume update, that means that it has changed since the last time we did something with it, and so we can set something. And I'll show you. Like we'll log music. So essentially we're watching basically we're watching those sliders for changes. Anytime one of the sliders changes, that will change the version of this effects volume version reference, and we'll see those change. So we'll watch the logs, which might be hard for you guys to see at home. Oh yes, my famous parentheses. Yeah. So we need the right parenthesis in the right place. Oh, I already had an update method. Where'd it go? Oh, right there. Duh. Oh yeah, I've already got the... Alright. I didn't pay attention. So I've already got one reference I'm watching for when the tabs change. And there's... I can't remember why. Oh, so I can reset the position of the window. So it's always in the center. And so we'll make sure that our UI mechanics are configured correctly. The next cool thing we'll deal with is what's called a Blackboard, but let's make sure this is working. So as we move these sliders around, we should see log messages popping down here. Yep, look at that. So we've just turned the music volume all the way down. Just turn the music volume all the way up. And then we can get it back to 75% or so, or we can... Oh. Yeah, my ranged value model doesn't actually include steps, so we'll want smaller steps. A ranged value model is a way of defining a double that has, oh no, it won't have the steps, it just has the maximum minimum. So it's the slider itself that has the step size. Right, it must be. Or it's always 1. Yeah, I'm thinking of spinners and things. They have a step size. The ranged value model does not. It's just min-max value. And so, since it's already calculating a %, we will just use, we don't care. So instead of 0 to 1, we'll go 0 to 100, make it human numbers, and then we don't have to deal with the problems. And anyway, the thing is working. So we have the UI to control these settings. We have a local quote-unquote model in the model view controller sense to keep track of these values, but we want to stick the actual value somewhere that other services and things can look at when they're creating their sounds. We don't want to have to tightly coupled to this. There's a data structure in computer science called a Blackboard, or a pattern if you want to call it that. And the SiO2 toolkit implements one of these somewhere. It'd be way up here, wouldn't it? Yeah, but down near the game loop stuff. Okay, so in addition to a bunch of other stuff it implements, it's got this Blackboard. Blackboard's just kind of a general thing. I believe it's in util. Nope. Sim. Yeah, Blackboard. So Blackboard's just a kind of general data structure. You can throw data in there by name and get it later. It also has listener support, so that when a specific type of thing gets put in there, specific name or type, you can find it. It'll notify you about it. So this is one place where we actually do use an event listener model. But it's very useful just because anybody with access to the Blackboard then can look up common settings, and Also, this is eventually going to be the backing for when users change settings and I want to save it or load it again. I will use the contents of this Blackboard. So we've already got a Blackboard state set up in Mythruna, which basically is just a wrapper around the Blackboard that gives us some life cycle. And so we're going to shove our values into there. And I think, I kind of in this live stream wanted to add the whole version reference thing to the Blackboard, but I think, yeah, and I think I will. One of the things about the Blackboard is it does not integrate with the version reference stuff, which is unfortunate because sometimes you just want to know when a value changes without having to register a listener, right? And I thought of a way to do this automatically. So we'll start with pretending that it is automatic. You'll kind of see what I mean in a second. When we see these values change for, oh, you know, we weren't watching muted either, so we want to watch version reference Boolean. Usually I name these with ref so that I keep track of them, and so I'll fix that right now in case I have a real value. So then where we add the checkbox, we want, see, checkbox model, create version reference, right? Yep, create reference, okay. So mute ref equals mute, get model, create version reference. Oh, just create reference. And so I got to change the names of all these. Which an IDE would have done for me automatically, I'm sure. Okay, so all those are back normal, and then we'll add one for utref. So again, we're just dealing with the UI right now, and we want to get state Blackboard. And let's make sure we're importing. Oh, we already imported the Blackboard, and we grabbed it, did we not? Nope, that's the first time. And we don't actually need the whole Blackboard. We can do state Blackboard state. All right, so back down here, is it set or put? I think it's set because I don't like put, just as a rule. But I sometimes support both too. Update is what we want, right? Update, Blackboard update is smart enough to not recreate the thing if it doesn't need to be. Yeah, it just puts the value, fires the update. Whereas set also puts, oh, wait. Oh, set will complain if there's already a value. That's what it is. Oh, but you can change the value. Why is update better than set? This is, see, I talk about how good JavaDoc is, and then when I don't JavaDoc something, this is what happens. I forget why it's here. So I tell you what, in my entire career, I've never regretted adding comments to something, but I certainly have regretted many times not adding comments to something, and this is the case. So set doesn't allow nulls. It will look up the existing value if there is one, make sure that it's changed, or it will yell at you. Update will let you update it regardless of whether it's changed. Yeah, well, update is the semantics we want, so update is the semantics we'll use. And if the class is wrong, not a whole lot of users. So anyway, Blackboard state, update. Let's call this something that we will know. Settings, sound, mute, and then mute ref get. Okay, we'll do that for sound, music, volume. Okay, we're going to do that for each of these. I'm going to leave the log messages for now so we'll see them. Oh, fix. Alright. So we put those in a place that everything can see them. And so hopefully it'll compile and run. I like to check that from time to time because it's always a good idea. And it did not compile, so cannot find symbol mute ref. Muted ref. Alright. Boink, boink, boink. We're almost to the point where we get to hear things. Okay, so that's good. Oh, no, it's not. It wouldn't let me update it. Oh, because it hasn't been... so dumb. So Blackboard's being stupid, basically. I implemented it in a way that it makes it almost impossible to use. I get why I did it. It's like you have to declare... Yeah, so I get myself in trouble. I make my APIs slightly harder to use sometimes because I want to make sure that I've initialized them and so on. So basically at the point of creation, I want to have initialized the settings because it's a good practice. But it makes, in this case, it made the API a little harder to use. So you can't, I think we're doing ambient next. Yeah, then effects. So it wants us to set it first before we can update it. And that's fine. I could just set it every time and never call update, but then set will actually complain if we ever pass it the same value. So I've kind of made it the idea was you would set it up once, you'd set the value the first time, and then from then on you will update it. So this should fix us. And the reason is because now I have to initialize it, make sure that that setting is there as soon as possible, as soon as it's possible to be available. Yeah, and of course I've screwed something up. Yeah, because they're not null yet. They're still null. Because we've never set one, so this just has to be 75. And we'll want to set a double. So I will probably rethink this in the future and make it a little easier to set these values up, because it'll catch me every time, I'm sure. And certainly if it's going to catch me and I didn't actually finish saving. And I'm actually the guy who wrote it. And if I get confused by it, everyone else will get confused by it. Oh my god. Oh, that was a different issue actually. What? I just want to put it back the way it was, because that was not the problem. The issue is oh wait, maybe let me sure. $147. What's it saying? It's saying because the return value of Mythruna gets to, yeah. See if I'd added a true here, would have given me a better error message. But so anyway, since that's not the issue, we'll put these back the way they're supposed to be. Because it's better. The issue is that we haven't actually added the Blackboard state by this point. And I know why we haven't. Because we add the Blackboard state as part of the game session, so that it's specific to the game. We actually want hierarchical Blackboards in this case, so that we have one with the global things like that. That's more than I wanted to do on this call, because I was hoping we'd get to sounds already, or in this live stream. I'm so used to doing teleconferences with groups of people and stuff that I think it's a call. Though then you guys are very quiet participants. So see, there's a game session state, which is what's created when the game starts. And it probably creates the Blackboards. Yeah, right there. Alright. So, alright, so great. So all that stuff I said about Blackboard, ignore it for the moment. We're going to go with a shortcut, because I'd have to implement Blackboards that can have parent Blackboards, which is what they're supposed to do. I just never had a chance to implement it before. So we don't have to do anything here, because we're going to force this on other things. In fact, we don't need to keep track of those at all. Create muted reference. But we do, so we do need the sliders back. Wait, what is invert y doing then? Sets the, okay. Oh, it's using the same pattern. We'll put all our other guys down here too then. Only it's got a holder instead of a blah 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 blah. So slider, oops, checkbox. This is what you get to see when I haven't planned anything out. Because I kind of want you to see the stumbling that a developer does when they're developing kind of on the fly. It is true, I do this on purpose. Okay, so create muted reference, create music reference. These are all double, which I should have just cut and pasted one of them. But all the other stuff is very similar. And so checkbox, we've got music, effects, ambient, music, effects, And this is no worse than the Blackboard in its sense, because everybody can get access to the app states. It's just a JMonkey engine construct to be able to see, we've already got the muted checkbox. Oh, you know, I called it mute. So, see, I go back and forth on that checkbox, get model. Okay. So then all these guys need to go back to music equals. We don't need any of this crap. CRUI would have been a lot easier to write. I spent, 20 minutes typing boilerplate that I'm removing. And we don't need any of this crap anymore. Okay, so see, we undid 20 minutes worth of stuff that we did because we didn't plan things up front. Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance, right? So let's see, that should compile. I'm just going to compile, not run it. Oh, checkbox doer. It's called mute. Anybody else complaining? Ambient. Did I spell ambient wrong? Oh, ambient through. Yeah, so that should compile. All right, quick and dirty, let's make some music. So we'll create a sound state, which will be global, and this will be just for playing the long-running sounds. It'll just be for managing their playback. And so something else can say, hey, I want to play this sound, or I want to play this music, and we will play it. So we'll have two sort of AudioNode references. So in JMonkey engine, we've got, where's the, there it is. So JMonkey engine, you've got AudioNode, which is not really the base thing anymore. It extends, oh, it does extend node, but it implements audio source. Is there a, yeah, AudioNode is the only source. And the asset manager can be used to load sounds, load audio, audio key. So sort of the core stream, yeah. And for the ambient sounds, we want to keep track of one audio node that is the, let's see, what's the package for all this crap? Oh yeah, just, oh, this is one of the few cases where JMonkey engine doesn't spread it all over the code base. A lot of times you get texture in the texture package, texture key somewhere else. Anyway, happens. So we got audio node, music, audio node, what do they call ambient. And then whenever somebody wants to play something, they'll say play music. String name. Or they'll say play ambient, string ambient. There's actually going to be more than one ambient, but for now I want to do some sounds in the next 10 minutes. Well, no, it's not WinXP, it's Windows 7. It just has the classic UI. The first thing I do whenever I install Windows is look for the classic, because I just prefer it. I don't like the cartoon borders. This has been over before. So anyway, music, we want to say if music is not equal to null, we want to stop the old music. And really what I'll do is I'll implement animated transitions. So the current music volume will fade out and the new music volume will fade in. I do not have time to do that on this particular live stream, but we will make sure to at least cut the old audio off. Oh wait, let me just grab the audio key stuff for now, because we want to, for the new one, stop music equals new equals get application, get asset manager, load audio. I think it's load audio. Or crap. Load audio. Load audio. Yep. Even though it's obvious because I'm passing an audio key. And so we want name. Yes, we want to stream it. No, we don't want to cache it. And then music. And so we got audio data. Oh, it's just audio data. Perfect. I don't mind that. Audio data. We should be able to... Oh. You can't just play? Crap. Probably familiarity with this. I haven't used the audio API in forever. Okay. Okay, so AudioNode, all these things are deprecated. It used to be simpler. You could just pass all this stuff to AudioNode. It would load the thing for you. It manages the thing. But we will do this. We'll go back to this AudioNode. Yeah, classic. Always the classic. Old fart. Classic is good. So what are we on? AudioNode, we want to create a new AudioNode. This API has not been fleshed out well. Because you load the asset. Oh, so I could have just done load asset. But it's probably going to return me an audio data. And then you want to... See, that's weird, and it's going to make me pass the key. Even though it's also making me pass the data. Yeah, so I don't corner the market on weird APIs, clearly. So instead of one call, I used 3. And then, oh, you know what we should do? We should say if name not equal to null. Or actually, even better, if name equals null, return. Set the for next time. Okay. Okay, so we set the thing up, create the AudioNode. AudioNode has a play somewhere on it. Play. Start playing it. Music play. And if we already had music, it should be stop, but you know, I'm not making any assumptions anymore. Yeah, music stop. Okay, so that should work without any kind of volume animation. But Paul, you may say, what about that volume stuff we just set up? Aha! And here is where we will want, this is why we keep track of these things. What are we? We are in client, so we have access to the state. We will want some silica lemur core versioned reference. And we want to set up versioned reference double to music volume ref. We'll just do 1 for now. Okay, then on initialize, music volume ref equals get state game setting state. Get, what did we call it? We create, yeah, we should have called these music volume. In fact, let's just name these real quick. So create music volume reference. Just wire up one of these in the time we got remaining. Okay, so we got the music ref. Add an update here. If music volume ref update and music is not equal to null, then this should have a set volume. Yep. And is it 0 to 100 or 0 to 1? Yep. Okay. So music set volume, convert to float, this value divided by 100. Alright, so that should set the volume whenever it changes. We also want to set the volume when we first create it, but only if the music volume references come around yet. Because somebody might try to play something before we've actually initialized. It happens during setup sometimes. In theory, this should compile. Oh, we're close. Oh, I didn't pass the key. I get the key, I do not pass it. It's weird that there's not an audio node constructor that takes the key. Now we will need to make sure the sound state is part of the base application. And then in our main menu, oh, you know what, we want to be able to say stop the thing too. But anyway, let's first grab some music. I believe I keep it. Is it music? Is it this one? How loud is this going to be? Very loud. That's the one. And we'll convert it to an OGG later. Actually, I think I might have to do that now. I don't think that do I have Audacity installed? I don't think JME will load MP3s. Okay, so, well, I would have had to have done it before, so we'll look in old Mythruna source code. Oh boy. It's going back into the attic here. Let's see. Put it in the assets, music, sounds. Through the theme Celtic. That's the one. So we'll copy that over to Mythruna. Eventually I'll move it to its own. I'm going to have a music pack. But for now, we'll just put it right in the resources for the client. Okay. So then in the main menu, I ought to be able to say on enable get state sound state true play music, and then say music slash this guy. Who's taking bets on whether this will work the first time or not? Never works the first time. Something's going to be unhappy. It always is. See? Told you. Huh. Play music. The state has not been initialized yet. Oh. Okay, so that's interesting. Often with app states, we get into this catch sort of chicken and egg situation where we've told it we want to play this music, but we haven't been started yet, so we actually don't have an application to load. We don't have an asset manager or anything. We're just saying, hey, I want to play this music, and then when we initialize, we of course want to start that. But so what do we want to do? We want to say, okay, I'm gonna hack something in real quick. String music name. Okay, so if we have music, yes, we want to stop it. If objects equals music name, oops, return, that means we haven't changed it. Well, maybe we'd want to start it over again. Yeah, we just stopped it. We probably do. Okay, so if name equals null, this dot music equals null, this dot music name equals null. Otherwise, this dot music name equals music equals name. Reset music. And then in here we can say if get application is null, return. We're gonna do it later. And then so down here when we initialize, or when we say on enable set music, which would be good because that means that on disable we can say if music is not equal to null, music.stop, music equals null. Yeah. But we want to leave it. So if the state's disabled, we stop the music from playing because we've said, hey, we don't want the sound state still playing. But we set the music to null because the so we'll reload the audio next time. We don't set music name to null because we want to keep track of that, so when we're enabled again, we can set it again. Okay, let's try it again. Music name. I wish I could kind of like diagram what I'm talking about with the on, enable, initialize, disable. There's a life cycle for app states. And the initialize is whenever they're attached to the state manager. It's like the global thing there. And then enabled is when they're actually supposed to run and when they're not supposed to run. Yeah, we're still... Oh, no handler for OG, of course, because I haven't included the... haven't included that dependency. What do they call that in JME engine? I think... JME, or JME engine jog. 3.6 snapshot, so it's the same, and it's jme-jogg. So in our build file, woo, okay, up with the JME stuff, we want to add another one of these and say, yep, jme-jogg. So we didn't have the dependency to actually play music, but it tried to play the music. That's better than it got to before. Tried to load it at least. God. Holy motto. I don't want it to be positional. Again, it is a well-known fact that the audio interface, the audio API in JME, I don't want to say is total crap, but you have to set up so much stuff. This is not even going to be the final thing that will kill us. But again, you see, I had to make 3 calls just to load the music, and then I've got to make sure to turn off the things that will cause problems if you leave them set. It's just, I mean, I get that AudioNode by default will want position, but you don't have any other thing to play music except for AudioNode. And so we have to say, no, it's not positional, because it's but I didn't play it yet. I just told you I didn't want it to be positional. So we call soundstate 93. I told you oh, I'm an idiot. Big fat dummy. Okay, anybody who's still on, please hold onto your hats. Haha! We have music, and it's too loud, so we can go into the settings and we can say, I want to turn you down. And look, we can turn the music down. An hour later. Anyway, we got that started. Yeah, I have no idea what we're going to look at next week, but let's go ahead and let's leave this quiet in the background, and we'll continue the last word. I'll show you some of the environment settings. They have been enhanced since the last time I showed you guys. So hopefully that audio isn't still too loud, because I didn't implement the mute button. But see, I can still go in here into the settings and I can say, oh look, music, we should make it even quieter. We can make it. So anyway, we've got, I see I'm standing up on thing, I built a snow thing. See the fog in the distance is colored. We've got a big old bright sun in the sky. Let's run back time to pre-dawn. Let's go to like midnight, okay? Or not quite midnight. Alright, so we got like a moon phase there. If we see, we can change the day, and we can see the different phases of the moon. And it even like moves its arc in the sky a little bit, just because I thought that'd be a cool effect. And so we're back on a previous day. If we want, we can look over here. Where's the... So the sunrise will come over up over that hill. We got our little twinkly stars. So let's start to see right about 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. is when we start to see the horizon change. And the fog, we can see it's starting to get colored. There's an issue. This dark border here, which, you know, underneath the bubble, that's the water under, that's like the land underneath the water or something. And really, by that point, both the water and the land should have fully faded to fog color so that it just blends nicely. And so there's some blending that has to happen on that far edge. But in the meantime, man, look at those stars. They're like all sparkly and glowy. It's cool. Even though, like, as the moon gets closer, the bloom gets like super high. Oh, look at that. I think that's cool to see the dim lights in that tower. And there's a little fire down here. Big fire, actually. So anyway, sun's coming up. This would be like if you were sitting here, it'd be nice to have some ambient music cues that if you happen to be looking at the sunset when it comes up, it plays special music. I do have that on my to-do list of, my to-do list of 1,000 items that aren't even like specifically tasked yet, is to have this sort of contextual music cues. And this would be one of them. Like if the engine can detect that you're sitting up here on a hill and looking at the sunrise, it should play some special music cue, because I think that'd be cool. These, what do they call them? Vibe checks in games these days. So wait, that sun's gonna pop up. It's gonna look really cool over that. Yeah, look at that. I love that bright, kind of like leaking over the edge there. And the moon should be coming down over here. Yeah, it's very faded, slipping below the horizon. Yeah, it looks huge, because it is. I mean, the real moon is teeny tiny in our real lives. I like to do the thought experiment. If you think right now, without actually looking outside, if you were to hold up your hand and hold up some number of fingers, like how many fingers do you think it would take to cover up the moon in the sky? And some people will say 2 fingers, but actually the tip of your pinky with your arm fully outstretched is probably just bigger than the moon. That's how small it is in the sky. And I just picked large ones for this case because it's just cool looking. And so we've got this big yellow sky, and look, the lighting, I don't know. I copied a lot of this over from old Mythruna. I spent better part of last Saturday hand tweaking all these values throughout the day, and I'm like, yeah, it's okay, it just doesn't get me. And so I finally broke down and I copied the values over from old Mythruna, and the first time I ran it, I was like, whoa, yeah, that's the stuff. I spent so many hours tweaking those old settings that I was kind of happy that they paid off and helped me. So if we run time forward, we can see it gets brighter throughout the day. I still want to, in the new engine, tweak some of this far fog, because we just really can't see the far terrain that well. Or it should be kind of a darker grayish. Mountains and stuff off in the distance should have kind of a purple haze, like a gray, almost purple haze to them. And so these old settings don't really fly for there, because these old settings are meant for the old Mythruna, which didn't have any of that terrain, and so would have been like this. This was what old Mythruna would have looked like, right? Old Mythruna would have looked more like, it would have had, your clip way out here at least. So, as it loads in, that's what old Mythruna would have looked like, the fog only going out to the edge of the terrain. But you can just see so much farther in the new engine, and so that gets me into a position where I actually have to care about the haziness and stuff, and fix some of this. And so I believe I'm going to have a more advanced fog model where fog in the way distance does get white, but fog in the near distance gets to gray. So I may have to have up to 2 or 3 fog colors instead of just the one fog color, and then go back and tweak that throughout the day. But let's quickly run ahead to the sunset. The one thing I did make a big improvement on in new Mythruna is so the trick is we use only one light source, and when it's the sun, it's coming from this direction, and when it's the moon, it's coming from the moon direction. But in the old Mythruna, there was always that weird transition right at the point where it switched from sunlight to moonlight, where you could see the shadows on things flip, so the highlight would go from this side to that side, and it always bugged me. And so in new Mythruna, it's seamless. I do a trick with ambient lighting and stuff, and it's kind of neat. So let's run time just one more hour forward. No, if we do that, it'll already be sunset. We'll just run a few minutes forward. Sunset's at 7:52 in. Let's see, we got this cool I improved the fog colors at sunset. Yeah, so we get that little bleed at the bottom. I love it. And so the whole horizon and everything has got that kind of pinkish sunset color. And right as it pops down, see, we didn't even notice it. The light switched, but we never noticed. I'll show you again. If we go back to here, see, light coming from this side, light coming from the west. All those trees are bright because we're seeing their fronts. And you can look at the dirt cube at the bottom here. It's got light on that side, dark on this side. But watch those trees as we get to, here we'll close, as we close in on the crossover point, which is at 1952. You see we go from direct light to like this glowy ambient. So we lost all of our direct light, and then at some point it flips over, and then the ambient goes back down, and the moonlight has taken over, and so we get this blue directional light from the moon, which we can see on the sides of things, and the ambient light get way down. And then as it gets super dark, yeah, so we get proper nighttime, big moon up in the sky, so we get some light. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, that is the day-night transition. I think this is still probably too bright at night, but what I wanted, it's kind of an average of what the real light would be, because I want to key the maximum brightness at night off the size of the moon. So if it's a full moon, you get this kind of light, and if it's a no moon or new moon, so if we get like these little slivers, it should not be very bright, right? It should be super dark when there's barely any moon, or when there's no moon at all. Whoops. There's no moon at all. Like, just, nope, no moon. No moon should be dark out here, but it's not. So that'll change, but I'll fix that later. I'm hot on sounds now, because now I've got like, I want to make her have footsteps when she's running around. I want to be able to beat on things and make them have noise and stuff later. But anyway, thanks for anyone who has held out this long in the live stream. I know we ran 10 minutes over, and I apologize for not getting a whole lot done today. But we had apparently 10 views during the thing. We got 3 concurrent views right now, and you guys are kind of still watching my last little bit. I can see the delay. But I hope that you guys have a good week and find productive things to do. I hope your week this week is more productive than my week last week. We had a lot of stuff going on at work and at home here, emergencies and things. Hopefully those get resolved in a way that lets me keep productive. But I will be working on sound this weekend, and I hope you guys have a productive week. And if you make something cool, show it off. If you at me, I'll take a look at it and like it, of course. And otherwise, I will see you guys online. Thanks for joining me, and have a good week. Gotta remember how to end the stream, right? There we go.